welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. I did a double high this time to see if maybe it picks it up. Figuring out some of these little microphone issues. But I do like using the microphone. I think it's clearer. I hope you enjoy it too. Should I start this one over? No, let's just keep going. Yes, I won't apologize for resting for the past few days and not recording. However, I will tell you that I've missed you. My days are not the same when I don't record. But I was just I was feeling feelings. I was feeling uninspired. I was feeling tired. I was feeling a lot of head symptoms. And the reason why I was feeling those head symptoms is because I was not prioritizing my well-being. And instead, I was deciding that I needed to look through ThreadUp online, or I needed to look at Instagram or something like that. It's interesting. What I was thinking about this morning is it's not just my head, like the pain and the discomfort and the inability to focus with my eyes and all of those symptoms that triggers when I do things that I know are not good for me, like scrolling on a computer or looking at the TV or something like that. It's not just that happens. I think what I realized this morning is that I think it has an effect on me emotionally and mentally. I think that as the slow discomfort sets in from doing these things, I start feeling unmotivated and I just don't I don't wanna. And as much as I talk about here, do it anyway, turn off your want or do it anyway. I'm human. And I don't know if you guys knew that, but I am. I'm totally human. And there are days that I just don't wanna. So I listened to my wanter over the past few days, and I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I think that's fine. It's okay to tell myself that I want to rest and take a break. Sometimes taking a break like revitalizes. So I do feel better just having hit record and just starting to talk. That's what the do it anyway thing is. It's putting the smile on your face and then you start feeling it on the inside. That's what's happening right at this moment. This is live action, what's happening here. So what I wanted to talk about is not just one theme, but I wanted to just talk about some of the themes that were going through my mind over the past few days, some of the things that I didn't talk about. And it's not, I don't want to come across like these are the things that were keeping me from doing my podcast. This is just stuff, this is just stuff that my meetings were about. And I wanted to just breeze through them and share about what's been going on in my meetings, what thoughts I've had, and what I've been doing over the past few days. So let's see. I think I missed on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So on Friday, the meetings stick out in my head actually, because the first one was talking about willingness and turning my life over. And whenever this topic comes up, I think about the difference between when I was younger, and I don't know if I've told you guys this story. Eek. I don't know if I've told you this before. maybe we need to save that for another day. But I already brought it up, so I'm gonna have to tell you, I think. Okay. I'll tell you the lighter version. When I was younger, I went to a church camp, and my counselor was, I guess, one of the goals there for the church camp was to have all of the attendees be saved. And so my counselor did everything she could, including scaring the bejesus out of me to get me to turn my life over to be saved. And it was not the right way. This is the lighter version. I feel sorry for that little girl that this woman told stories to, this counselor. The stories that she told me were very scary. And so as a result, I had like gone to bed that night and asked to be saved, like I prayed and I asked to be saved, and I wanted to turn my life over to the care of God. And that was always a really uncomfortable, scary memory in my life. And when I think about how this event happened once I got sober, it happened the right way. It's something that I do every night now when I say, "Thy will be done, not mine." That idea of letting go, taking my hands off the wheel, opening my arms and letting something else in to take care of things. Like, you handle all of this crazy negative stuff. I'm going to bed, God. You know, that practice of turning my life over is a much more positive one. It feels more like a dependence rather than a fear. It feels like I'm not in this alone, and that I get to work this stuff out with my higher power as I believe in Him. So this dependence leads to an internal independence that makes me feel like I don't have to, although I'm the one making decisions for my life, I also get to believe in that there's something greater that's handling everything. I don't have to. I don't have to control it. So willingness to turn my life over was the topic of the first meeting on Friday. Can you believe I remember that? And then on the second meeting on Friday, we were talking about staying sober through grief and loss, and what sobriety is like when things aren't fine. And I spent a long time a few weeks ago on the 6 stages of acceptance. And the first one was recognizing when I'm saying that things are fine and they aren't fine. I feel like my voice is shaking, but I'm not. Maybe I'm a little nervous. I haven't done it in a few days. I don't know. That's funny. If you hear my voice shaking, it's because I have a little tiny sense of nervousness for some reason. That's funny. You know what? I can name it, right? I can name what's going on, what I'm feeling. I'm not so afraid when my voice is shaking anymore. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here, is like knowing when things aren't fine and tuning in and recognizing that things aren't fine, and not making it up and saying, that I'm fine, because I'm not quite fine right now, and I don't know why, and that's fine. That's fine that I don't know why. But the thing is that I'm tuning in. And finally, I'm tuning in because I'm actually recording today. So part of my humanism is coming out. Yeah, humanism. I don't know. So what I always think about when somebody talks about staying sober through grief is, I think about when people pass away, and the one that the biggest one that happened to me during my sobriety happened a few years ago when somebody that I grew up with passed away. And how did I stay sober through it? You know, I didn't want a drink. If I'm being completely honest, it wasn't something that I felt like I needed to turn to. I felt what I was challenged with was allowing myself to feel. So I think that the challenge, I think when we're going through grief and having that desire to drink maybe comes from not being able to control our emotions, and it feels like I just want something to take the edge off. I want something to tame how upset I am. And I didn't feel like I needed an outside thing to tame how I was feeling because I wasn't allowing myself to feel. I knew the things that were upsetting me. I knew if I listened to music, it would just overwhelmed me with sadness. I was overwhelmed with sadness. So I didn't listen to music. That's not a good idea. That's not a solution. But that's what I had, what I'd done. And when I finally realized after, like I kept trying, I would go on these walks and I'd turn on a song and I would only get like a quarter of the way through it and I would start crying. I mean, just the aching was so painful in my chest. So I would turn the music off. And I finally got to that point where I was like, I have got to do this. I have got to process the pain. So the best way that I could do it, because I always think of pain and fear and anxiety and all of these things as energy. So the best thing I could do, like, how can I expend this energy, um, just as largely and quickly as I could, and it was to go running and listen to music. So that's what I did, and it worked. I mean, I exploded. I was so it felt like a volcano erupting, and I just ran, and it was like 90 degrees outside, maybe even 100, and I was just running. And then I also have found a place to put that sorrow so that I can close the book on it. Like I can close the chapter of that book and open up a new one. And that is to add that person that I've lost to my higher power. I I absolutely feel that when I lose somebody now that I'm close to, heck, even when I lose somebody that I'm not close to, it is transformed into fuel for my sobriety. That energy, some of it I've got to burn off because it's just too painful to hold on to. And then the stuff that's left over, that energy that always stays with me, I still have it from my friend that passed away years ago, several years ago. I still have the energy and I use it. It's like I'm harnessing it to fuel the things that I do when, like the past few days, like today, like coming back and hitting record, some of that leads me here, because I very much do this podcast because I lost my friend, this friend of mine. It is fuel for me to get healthy, to do the things that I know are right, the next right thing. Um, and I do have an issue with grieving about things that haven't happened yet. Um, and I'm working through that with a psychiatrist. Somebody brought that up in the meeting on Friday about grieving about something that could happen in the future. And I absolutely do that. I was just talking to my mom about that last week. And that is unreasonable, I think. I mean, I know I'm going to lose people in my life, but I want to use that forward looking energy to cultivate the relationship as I have it now in my life. And then somebody shared in the meeting that there's a book called Signs, the Secret Language of the Universe by Laura Jackson. And I don't know, I'm going to listen to it. So I have that next in my library. And it sounds like from the description that it's something about just making sense of the universe, really. And I could definitely use another perspective on that. I think it would be encouraging to hear what somebody's perspective is on the universe. I'm kind of looking forward to that. So if you're interested in reading it, I'm going to listen to it. It is available on Audible. But it's again called Signs, the Secret Language of the Universe by Laura Jackson. So we'll see how that happens. I know we don't do a book club anymore, but that doesn't mean it's going to go away forever. I actually have started to, I'm going to start attending my sororities book club from college. So we'll see. I think it meets. It might be this week on Thursday. I'm not sure, but I'm listening to the book Beach Beach Book. Is that what it's called? Let's take a look. Let's take a moment and let's look at what the book is called real quick. Yeah, it's called Beach Read. And that is by Emily Henry. So, and it makes me blush. We'll just say that. Okay, so those were the topics from Friday. And then yesterday, we were talking, well, what I wrote down was about chronic pain and what it's like how does the program work when the going gets tough? And I was really thinking about the tools that I use just from a surface level, like what are my go-tos when things get hard? And so what I had written down was acceptance. I have to work on acceptance when things are hard. I need to accept that even though I don't like it, this is it. This is the way it's going to be, and I need to accept it. And I was just talking to a friend yesterday who has Meniere's disease, and it's just starting to kick in and get pretty difficult for her. And so we were talking about disability and that whole journey. And I had mentioned that things are going to get hard. Things are going to get hard emotionally. And these are some of the things that I lean on. I know that I need to accept. I know that I need to understand. Like, oh, when these people, the doctors, the insurance, when everybody's saying stuff that I don't want to hear, I need to be understanding that they are doing their job and they're doing the best that they can. And maybe it's not the best, maybe their best they can is not as good as my best I can, but I need to understand if they're giving me bad news, like, well, you're going to be denied for insurance. This is why. It's not going to help for me to get upset with them. I need to be understanding that they're basing their decisions on the information that they were given. And instead of getting pissed off at the person that I'm talking to, like be understanding and figure out what is the next right thing to do. Another tool that I use when the going gets tough is willingness. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to be willing, you know? I think yesterday I was willing to hit record, but my computer died. So that's why I didn't record yesterday. It was not because I was not willing yesterday. I even figured out how to get my microphone hooked up to my phone to try to record. But then I was just like, this is terrible. It looks terrible. I don't even know if it records. Where is the recording going to go? I was like, just take another day. It's fine. It's fine. The world is not going to end if Rachel doesn't record her podcast. I just feel like that I have like an unspoken promise for you because of the name Recovery Daily Podcast. And I have said, recovery is daily, and I want to show up for you to show that the work happens every single day. That's how I stay on the beam for sobriety, for mental health, and all of that good stuff. What I know is that drinking will never handle my problems. And if I'm drinking, I cannot handle my problems. Not a single problem in my life can be rationally solved if I have alcohol in my body, period. So I don't do it. And I'm grateful that I have 9 years of not doing it because it does get easier. The obsession is not there for me. There are times that I'm actually like, when's the last time I even thought about alcohol? Yeah, I mean, I go to 2 meetings a day in the morning, and during that time, I allow myself to think about the pain and how difficult life was back then. Because it makes life seem so beautiful now. Life is beautiful now. And that leads me to the topic from yesterday, which was about our new selves unfold when we face a series of adversities. So the the literature that we read from was an author who had like all these terrible things happen in a matter of a week. Like two relatives passed away and lost her job and all of these terrible things, and they happened in a week. And when the going gets tough, like I was just talking about, that's when we have this new version of ourselves that unfolds as we rise up and meet those challenges. And then what if we can be in the middle of a storm and be grateful, that guidance for what we should do next is going to be there. It's going to be there because sometimes the thing that we need to do in the storm is just be grateful. It's just be grateful for what is still there. That maybe even though I'm being rained on, the rain isn't cold. Or even though I'm being rained on, at least I've got an umbrella, you know? So I called it a new self identity, that every time I face a new adversity, I see a new version of myself being born. Every morning, I I wake up and I remember that I'm an alcoholic. And it's not as shocking as it used to be when I would wake up and I would be like, oh yeah, and it was kind of like a sinker. Now it's just like, uh-huh, That's it. It's like an acknowledgement. I'm an alcoholic and I'm not going to drink today. But it comes out really in my mind as, uh-huh. And then the same thing is happening finally. Sorry, Autumn's interrupting us. Autumn, can you not? Thank you. Um, the same thing is happening now in my stroke recovery that it was it was very much like I was waking up and I was thinking, oh yeah, like my whole life has changed and I no longer have a job and I can't do anything I ever want to do ever again. That's what it was like before. But now it's, uh-huh, what am I going to do today? It's like those worries that are running in the background all the time in our lives. Um, if I time heals, time lessons, as long as I don't ignore them, as long as I acknowledge them. If I wake up every morning and I acknowledge the things that are going on that I'm not okay with, those things begin to be acceptable with time. As long as I continue to be grateful, then I receive that guidance from wherever, whatever I believe in, the guidance is there. And so today, this morning, it feels like all of this runs together. Doesn't it always, though? This morning, the reading was in the morning meeting, the Senate. Bleh. Let's try again. Autumn, let's try again. The 7 a.m. meeting was talking about there is a solution, and that's out of the big books of Alcoholics Anonymous. And what stuck out in my head, because it's always different, depending on the day, what's sticking out is that the people in that room were all listening to the same story and we're all dealing with different experiences in our lives, but we all have a common problem and we all have a common solution. And when I remain like I when I remain grateful, when I implement these tools, the gratitude, the willingness that I started off talking about for this episode, I just spit on myself. Sorry. um, when we implement all of those things, that's what happens is these new versions of me continue to unfold. You know how in a software update there's main the main update, you have like 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, like I've been talking about, like Rachel 1.0 was my first version, my baby version. Rachel 2.0 was the sober version, and Rachel 3.0 is the stroke survivor. Well, there's also these minor upgrades. So Rachel 3.2, Rachel 3.3. Every time I'm facing an adversity, there's a new version of me that's coming out. And I think, and what came to mind this morning in the reading is that is spiritual awakening. That's what it means. I heard somebody share it. That's what came to mind, that somebody said something like, a spiritual awakening is awakening to a new you. And I can only do that if I'm willing. If I'm willing, then I have the ability to change. I have the ability to upgrade, major or minor. I can upgrade. As long as I keep relating in to what's going on, what I'm hearing, what other people's experience, strength, and hope is, instead of trying to relate out. For my entire life before I got sober, I thought I was unique. I thought that um, the thoughts in my head were like nobody else's. Nobody would understand. And and that's just not true. And I didn't realize I didn't have to share my thoughts in order to find out that I wasn't alone. I got to just show up in this room where people were totally vulnerable and they were willing to talk about their thoughts. And that's how I found out that the stuff that I'm deeply disturbed about, the stuff that doesn't make sense for me, that's how those people used to feel. That's how the people in the rooms used to feel, just like me. And so I don't have to sit around in my room drinking and smoking and writing poetry and crying to get it out of me. Now I can walk into a room and I can say without crying, and that took me a few years, I can um, say without crying, like, look, I'm deeply disturbed right now, and I don't know what to do. All I know how to do on some days is show up in my meeting. And from there, that willingness, that's where I can be grateful. I can be grateful that I have somewhere to go. And I can be um, willing to change. I can notice that these people here, we all have a common problem and we all have a common solution. And if I listen, I can hear every day how they implement acceptance and willingness and gratitude. And I can continue to upgrade, as Beyonce would say. Um, that's it. That's all I have. That was a good one. Thanks so much for listening. Yeah, again, not going to apologize, but definitely feel it. I feel like I'm not here for you. Those of you, so many of you have reached out to me and said I'm a part of your daily routine. So when I don't show up, I feel bad. I feel bad. And I know you know that some days are just days that you want to rest. So that's what I was doing. But I did have some fun crafts that I'm working on. I painted a rock, a big rock, like a boulder rock, and I painted like layers around the edges of it that look like, to me, they look like layers of earth. And then on the very top of it, I wrote, unearth your potential. And so I'm going to put that in the rock garden in the neighborhood. And I've been drawing, and making a quilt. I finished the top of that quilt that I was talking about, the beach quilt that my aunt was unable to finish before she passed away. I finished the top of it. So now I just need to put the sandwich together, if you will. For those quilters out there, I need to put the sandwich together and put on the binding and everything. And that will be done. And then I'm going to start on another quilt. So that's what's going on. It's raining today. So find the sunshine within yourself. And I will talk to you tomorrow.